Hi, Karen. So very nice horse. I think you said he was a 7-year-old, had shown a little bit in flat shod and then mostly used as a trail horse, and you had worked on his feet because they were long, and I think you might have them unshod now. Okay, so very nice horse. When you change their feet, when they've had long feet and long toes, most of the time they relied on those to get the gait. And so once you change their feet, you have to help them and collect them more, usually to get the correct gait and to get the 4-beat footfall. So what we need to do, from what I'm seeing here, I kind of scanned through it, is to go slower. So most of the time he's going pretty fast at a running walk the entire time. So I would start with a flat walk, I would go slower, and then in time, once you can get that and get his head down and get him engaging his back end more, and he's doing it well and a little bit more relaxed, then you could go faster in the arena. The trail actually helps the horse's gait because it kind of collects the horses for most people, except the downhill. So the flat and the uphill kind of sets them up to gait better. So in the arena, they need more help. They do get bored in the arena, so they usually do require more leg to go. But from what I'm seeing here, you're actually on the verge of going too fast most of the time. So you could probably use less leg. All right, so let's start. So when he's going, I'd like to see his legs a little bit more separated. He does okay, but when you get to the downhill each time, which makes them more pacey, he starts to get pacey. If we had him a little bit slower, and then as you go down the hill, you half halt more and take your leg off and slow down, he's going to be less likely to pace. What I see as you're going around is that when you're pulling on the rein, you know, your rein's here coming from the bit, you pull your hand down most of the time to try to get his head down. I would teach him to give to the bit at a standstill. Then I would do it at a walk, and then I would walk, stop, walk, stop. I'll send you a video on that shows you how to get his head down, and make sure he understands how to give to the bit first, and the rest of this will all fall into place pretty easily. Because right now, he doesn't really lower his head, he doesn't relax his neck and back enough, and that also is adding to making him pacey. So what I want you to teach him, and again, I'll send you the video on it, is that when you put pressure on the rein and you just hold, that he will tuck his head in, give to the bit, and lower his neck and relax some. So one of the things we'll have to fix is trying not to let you anymore pull his head down, okay? Teach him to give to pressure, and then when he gives to pressure, you can release. So you want to keep a straight line from the bit up to your hand, up to your elbow. Right now, you're pretty good. So I was trying to find a picture of it. So right here, he's going downhill, and I think you're trying to get his head down, but you've pulled your hands down. So we want to keep a straight line from the bit up to your elbow. So we're going to keep your hands up a little bit more, and I want you to shorten up your reins. Some of it depends on the length of your arm and what you're comfortable with, but what I'm seeing as you're riding around is your hands are in your lap too much. You always want your hands to be a couple of inches in front of the pommel, the front of the saddle. So that will help you more have the better contact with him, and then you'll keep your hand up to keep a straight line. You're a pretty rider, you keep your eyes up, you have pretty good form, your heels are up a little bit, but I know that's because you're making them go. So what you want to try to do, if you can, is carry a dressage whip, and if he won't go forward, use your calf muscle first, and then if he doesn't go, you can use a little bit of your heel, not a lot of leg, okay? Because we want to make him more sensitive, not duller, so only use a little bit of leg. And then if he doesn't go, tap him behind your leg with the stick. So hold the stick in your hand like this, and then if he doesn't go, you can just wiggle that stick first, and then if he doesn't go, just light taps until you get him going forward, because you don't want to be riding around with your heels up or squeezing real hard the entire ride. You're going to get exhausted. Okay, so now I'm going to start the video and we'll go through. So here in the beginning, he's got a nice head shake, but he could have a lot more head shake. He's a little too fast, okay? He's kind of going more towards a little step pace in the arena. So we want to get his legs separated. The height of your hand there is pretty good, except you were kind of bending your wrist. So I'm going to stop. So again, now I know you're going downhill, and that's why you picked up more contact. But I want you to keep your hand up a little bit, keep the reins shorter, so your hands are a little bit behind that breastplate. And as you go downhill, lighten your leg. So that means don't squeeze with your knee or your thigh. Take your calf off a little bit, push that heel down, and as you're going downhill, just keep a light pressure with the calf and squeeze and release on the rein every single stride as he goes downhill. So let me see if I can get to where you were coming down the hill. Okay, so this is what I would do as you're going downhill. Squeeze, release, squeeze, release, squeeze, release, squeeze, release, squeeze, release, squeeze, release. And then once you get down the hill, then you can stop with the half halting. So there, your hand's too low and his head is too high. So he is inverted too much. So unless he was a trotty horse, that would be different, but he doesn't look like a trotty horse. So his head is kind of up by your chest up here. See where his ears are as you're going? So we don't want to ride him like that. His head's too high. So what we want to do is get his head down a little bit more than you're getting it, okay? I would like to see his head, which is here, coming down the top of his head a little bit more here until we get his gait better. And then as long as he's gaiting well, we could have it come up a little bit more. So you'll hear me talk when I'm giving people lessons to try to keep the horse's head below the top of the saddle, which is the pommel. He might not need it that low, but I would bring it down a couple more inches. If we can get that head down by getting his head down, and then we release, he'll release the tension in his neck, he'll release the tension in his back, and what that will do will separate his legs even more, so it won't be as step pacey as he's going. But what I want you to do is do it slower first, not at this speed. I want you to go like 1 or 2 miles per hour slower than this, okay? We want to get his flat walk good first. Again, this is more the speed of his running walk. And I can tell that because as you're going downhill, he immediately goes into the pace and he's picking up more speed. So that means we got to slow him down and teach him the correct footfall. Okay, let me go back. So now I'm just going to kind of critique you. So there, I think your hands are too low. I would lift them up again. So you had, if his head comes up, you're going to follow with your hand. So if his head comes up, your hand comes up. You want to keep a straight line from that bit up to your hand. And you're releasing, you're trying to be nice, but we're releasing at the wrong point. Like there, his head's a little better. That's where I would have released, and I didn't see you release at all. I saw you release when his head was way up in the air, which is going to make him carry it more up in the air because that's where he's getting the pressure taken off. So here I would have a tighter rein. I would have it shorter. I would have your hands higher, and I would not be releasing there at all. See that release in the rein? So he's getting relief for carrying his head up. We want him to get relief for carrying his head down, not up, okay? And if he keeps pacing, try this for a bit. Slam on the brakes, so stop immediately, back up 5 to 10 steps, and then immediately go off. Don't rest every time he paces. If we get his head down and he's gaiting pretty good, then that's when you want to stop and release, okay? Upper body wise, you're pretty good. As he's going downhill, you're sitting back, which is good. The rein's still a little loopy there, and see that bend in your wrist? You don't want to bend your wrist. If you're bending your wrist or your hand is coming into the groin area or you're hitting the saddle, then that means that the rein is too long, okay? So we need that rein shorter so your hands are more up here. Sorry, it keeps moving. So kind of in between the breastplate and the pommel. I would like your hands, unless your arms are really short or you have a back or shoulder problem, to be up a little bit more and the rein to be shorter until we're better. And then no bending in your wrist. Anytime you feel your wrist bending, shorten your reins. It's good to ride with a rein with either duct tape on it or colored rein, because then you can see if by accident you keep letting the rein slide through your hand, okay? All right. But you're a good rider. The other thing I would do, I would keep this horse in a big 20-meter circle when you're working at his gait, because if you work on the circle, you'll bend him. And if you don't know how to bend, tell me and I'll send you videos on that. But the bend will get him to engage himself more. So that means use his hindquarters more, to step up more with his inside leg, which will help with the engagement. And the bend will help to separate his legs more, so he's not as step pacey, and we'll get a clearer 4-beat walk. And when you're trying to do this, if you don't know the speed of the flat walk, send me a couple short clips like you did here, and I'll just tell you if that's the speed or not. But for everything I'm seeing here, I think at this point in time, this is the speed of his running walk. So I wouldn't go any faster than this. And again, I would warm up slower for 5 to 10 minutes at a slower walk, which will be his flat walk. So this is the second video you sent. See the top of his head? Still a little bit too high. So I still want it a little bit lower. You got that loop in the rein, which would be fine if his head was lower. But again, right there, I would have more pressure and try to get his head down more. So as you're going, if you can figure it out or somebody's watching you, tell him to tell you when his head is up to your chest, and tell them to tell you when his head is kind of belly button level, because that would be better, and that's going to help his gait more. So you're doing a running walk here. Again, he might be much faster out on the trail, but when we're in the arena, we have to go much slower. So he's going fast, and then he hits the turn, and he got unbalanced, and that's why he got pacey. There you're pulling his head down again. So we don't want to pull the head down. We want to teach him to give to pressure, so no matter where your hands are, when you put pressure on him, he'll tuck his head. So there I would have your hands higher. His gait's not bad. There he got a little bit pacey. So the other thing you could do too is every time right before you get to that spot that he's getting pacey, stop him, back him up, go forward again. And again, try and go slower. So as it goes downhill, keep your hand up, sit back, and then half halt, release, half halt, release, half halt, release, half halt, release. But you have to remember, since we want to slow down anywhere it slants downhill, that you lighten your legs. So you got to make sure you're not digging with your seat, you're not digging with your knees or your thighs. You just want light pressure with your calf, and then you're trying to keep that heel down. So I think you're going for too much speed with him at this point in time. And I think if we just went slower and got his flat walk and then went back up to this speed after teaching him to carry his head lower and relax his neck and back, it's going to be so much better. Okay. And then keeping him in a circle when you're doing his gait will also help to separate those legs more. So when they go uphill in the arena, you can add a little speed, but anywhere it goes downhill, you want to slow it down, even if you come back to a flat walk every time you go down that hill. Because by going fast and allowing him to pace or step pace, we're just teaching him to do the wrong thing. And his top line, his back, and his head and neck, it's going to be better for him in the long run if we get him to bring that head down and relax more, okay? And if you bring that head down, you're going to get more head shake. We just got to get it down a couple more inches, and then it's going to be so much better. But again, I know you're getting used to them, so you're doing pretty good. And we're just going to try and get that much better. So I'll attach some other videos as well that give you some guidance and show you how to teach him to bring his head down.